How are we all? I'm early because I've got a meeting at 8 o'clock. So, in fact, I'm actually not early enough because I was hoping to start a bit earlier, but, you know, the technical issues where one was live and one wasn't, and that's not that much fun. Morning, Jacinta. How are you, gorgeous girl? Hello, Ferdev. How are you, lovely? So, this morning I have a question. We have one of our members asked a really good question. I thought, right, I was going to type out an answer, but really typing on the on your phone at 10 o'clock at night is not my favourite thing to do, and I would probably give it not its full value. So the question, and ladies, this is probably a question for you. So men, it's a question you should know about, but it's not going to apply to you. And it really is a question about what do you do when you've got carb cravings before your period? So we know this. This is a physiological response. Now, as you know, real life medicine, we teach people, listen to your body, listen. Morning, lovely Pip. So the tricky thing is, right, again, we have some fairly influential forces throughout our life that have given us a story that before periods we need chocolate, essentially. Chocolate lollies, sweet stuff. Because, you know, and again, it's snuck in everywhere. Movies, ads, written books. I can't even speak this morning. Everywhere you go, there is that thing that, you know, periods, you know, and they'll call it, no one calls it a period because, you know, that's apparently a terrible word. It's, you know, there's references to the monthly, to Auntie Flo coming, whatever. And, you know, you're going to need chocolate. So a couple of things. Doctor hat on, a couple of things. In those couple of weeks before your period, particularly the first week, so the first week before your period. So your period starts, obviously, that's day one. We call that day one of your cycle. So the day before your period is the last day of your cycle. So in those last few days leading up to your period, you actually become more insulin resistant. It's normal, okay? It's a physiological response. It's not a pathological response. What the difference there is that it is normal leading up to your period to have some insulin resistance. So for a lot of people, they go, oh, you know, why do we put on weight before our period? And it's usually not fat, because let's face it, the cause is usually fluid, because, you know, you have your period and poof, you suddenly lose 2 kilos or 1 kilo or half a kilo or whatever. The number's not important. But again, why do we retain fluid before a period? So that there's part of it is an insulin response and part of it is progesterone, which also increases before your period. So physiologically, there are hormonal changes happening, insulin, and of course the girl hormones, particularly progesterone. So what that will often translate into is it changes the way we feel, it changes the way we think, and it changes what we want to eat. That's fine. It's normal, okay? So we've got to normalize things. So then we go, all right, well, what are we going to do about this? You know, personally, I don't think it's particularly helpful, you know, for the week before your period to eat, you know, a packet of Fantails every day or a block of Cadbury's every day. I've done that many times. That was my old life. So a couple of options. And again, this is the thing that we've got to be really mindful of, is that everyone has a different response. It's like everyone has different levels of PMS. It's nothing to do with being, you know, weak or hopeless or, you know, not resilient. People have different levels of response in that premenstrual period. So some people have more bloating, some people have more breast pain, some people have bigger cravings. It's not that they're flawed in some way. So let's assume you've got big cravings before your period. What can you do about it? Okay, this is the practical advice. So I would suggest that it is okay for some people before their period to have some more carbohydrate, because that's what your body is saying it needs. Now, what I think though is that don't fall for the trap of having processed carbohydrates. So, you know, because remembering the problem with processed food is that it is designed to be hyperpalatable. And what that means is it's designed to completely override your body's natural satiety and hunger signals, your body's natural cravings. All of that is completely overridden by processed carbs. So you may find that in the time, I was about to say the period before your period, morning Kel, that you are, your brain's going, oh God, I just need something sweet. You know what? Have some fruit. It's not going to kill you. Fruit is not hyperpalatable in the way that chocolate, Mars bars, donuts, chips are. Okay? And I know that when we give our lists, red, green and orange list, fruit's not on it because it's not that helpful for people that are insulin resistant with fatty liver and those sorts of things. But if we're looking to, honour our body, honour what it needs before your period, and it's really craving something that is sweet, have some fruit. It won't hurt you. You are very unlikely to sit down and have 16 apples. You are much more likely to sit down and have 16 Tim Tams if you start down that path. So that would be my one thing. Have some, have some fruit, or have some, maybe, you have some sweet potato or potato. Again, it's not perfect if you want to be perfect, but at Real Life Medicine, we're not about perfect. We're about honouring your body, listening to what it's saying to you. And for those few days before your period, if it's really saying, and you know what it's like, don't you? You start crawling, you can hear it. It's different to just that craving that you sit on the couch and go, oh, wouldn't mind some chocolate. Okay, wouldn't mind. That's different. Okay, this is a premenstrual time. So again, just be mindful, because there are some people's brains out there that will go, oh, premenstrual, that's a hall pass, I can do whatever I like. It's not helpful to do whatever you like, but it is helpful to be able to honour what your body's actually saying. So yeah, I would be saying have some fruit if that's going to be helpful for you. For other people, and I'm in this category, I was able to kind of just not bother about the cravings. They sort of were there at the start and then they just kind of went away. So over time, my body didn't, my brain was asking and my body just sort of went, you know what, we can do without it. So again, listen to your particular body, because everyone is different. The cravings, as I said, for some people are pretty mild, and for other people, they're really intense. The other question that was asked in our group, and I'll just give you this one quickly, is measurements. And as you know, we're people that don't love the scales, because the scales are often unhelpful tools, derail us. For some people, they have, we call it scale trauma, where they have really just measured their entire self-worth by the number on the scales, and your day, the way your day pans out will depend on what that number on the scale said. It can be up by 100 or 200 grams and it ruins your whole day. So for a lot of us, we go, just put away the scales. And then people go, what about measurements? Measurements are good. However, there's no point measuring every day, because again, our body shape can change every day. And this was the question, how can your shape change every day if we're doing measurements? And this is waist circumference. First of all, if you're wearing an hoodie, it doesn't really matter. No, joking. The thing that will change from day to day, again, fluid retention and gas in your bowel. They're the two things. We have fluid retention frequently, and that's normal. Okay, so don't worry about it. Comes and goes. It's part of the reason why the scales go up and down. You might have it one day, you might have it the next day. And then bloating, which is gas in your bowel, comes from often your food, but also other things like how much you've moved, whether you've sat down all day, what your stress levels are like, a whole heap of things. Again, just be mindful that we don't need to measure progress based on numbers, whether they're the scales or whether it's a tape measure. Your progress is actually your goal, and we've talked a lot about this, is changing your relationship with food so that food becomes your friend, not your crutch. It becomes something that you use to nurture and nourish your body, not something that you use to numb emotions or deal with boredom. That's actually what you measure. The more that you spend time over this side, And the less that you spend time over this side, the better. Okay, again, not perfect, but more over here, less over here. Lovelies, I've got to go because I've got a meeting 4 minutes ago. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. It's a bit cold in lockdown Melbourne, but you know, it is what it is. So have a beautiful day, darlings. See you all.